what we need is not more generals. We need talented lieutenants.
Expound, please.
Right? So I don't want to be in charge of everything. Often when I'm in charge, what happens is I am full of character defects. I'm frail, right? I can get demanding, or when people don't listen to me, my perfectionism comes out, right? I'm at my best when I'm collaborating, or I'm a second in command, right? Hey, here's how I think we should execute this, because I was around people that were natural leaders, that people were naturally drawn to and people were naturally listening to.
What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the Cutting Up Podcast. I'm your host, Jonas Thatcher, and today we have my friend, real estate mogul, investor, the man, Justin Myers. How we doing?
I'm good.
Doing good? Glad to have you in here. You ready to get started?
I'm ready to get started.
Let's do it. Haircut. We switched it up recently. Before we were leaving it a little longer. We've gone back down to the tight skin fade. Are we going to keep that going, or you want to switch anything up?
Whatever we did last time, had people in the DMs. Fortunately, it was my boys, but had people in the DMs complimented me. We're different grid. So that's the same cut.
There we go. That's the start. Awesome, my man. Well, hey, I want to start off today because we were just talking, me, him, our producer Dalton, and I tabled the conversation. So let's press pause. I want to finish that conversation right now, but I wanted to do it when the cameras are rolling. And what we were talking about, we're going to obviously get into real estate and investing and all that great stuff that you're a part of. But first off, I want to finish that conversation. We're talking about finding success, overcoming failure. You've been doing this for a long time. And so I wanted you to go into that. You're giving me some advice, giving Dalton some advice, give the people some advice, finding success, overcoming failure, how you get to that point. Go ahead, man.
Well, sure. So I think the baseline for all of this stuff, right, when we're talking about this, is there's a couple aphorisms that I've been told to live by. So I've been sober for about a decade. And one of the things we talk about is pain is the touchstone of all spiritual growth, right? And that humility, unfortunately, is often preceded by humiliation. Like, how do I move forward from there? And so for me, I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. I've made enough mistakes in my life that if I'm being realistic, whatever failure I'm having in my career is irrelevant, right? There's been so many others. And if things have worked out for me, if I've been able to rebuild my life, if there's people in my life that all view me as someone that they respect, that they care for, that they want to have in their world, then this other stuff is really not that important. That's ironically difficult for other people who have maybe played by the rules, haven't made those mistakes, and are still living in this limited box of like, all the things that I do really, really matter, or I have to be perfect in some way. So what I found recently is when you start chasing gigantic goals, you're essentially signing up for nonstop failure. Almost everything that I've done over the last few years has been a failure. Even the massive successes, when I look at what the goal is, we're falling very short of what the goals are, but no one knows that. They just see the success. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when 100 people show up, if the goal is 150, they think that we're crushing it. They don't know that we're falling short. I think it's the same point you just had about growing your channel, right?
Yep.
Like when I start chasing that progress, all of a sudden, for reasons beyond your control, it wasn't a smooth like growth line, right? You started stalling out, even though you were producing better and better content.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned this, and I'm curious, Jonas, like, have you always been somebody that chases goals and keeps setting goals? Like you fueled by achievement? What's important about that to you?
I think, and we talked about this, I'm definitely results driven. You know what I mean? I have to really, really push myself and focus on enjoying the process of things to really enjoy the process of things. It doesn't come naturally for me. You know what I mean? I'm very much, I have ideas and goals and things hit me and I just want to do those things. And when it hits my head, I'm like, I can do that. I want to do that. And then, but a lot of times that's all it ends up being. It doesn't end up getting solved through because the process of it is a lot harder than you actually think it is, right? And so that's what we've talked about this on this podcast here. And it's like for me, I found it has to be something that I'm truly passionate about, something that I truly love to do in order to get me through all of that, right? And I tell the story, obviously becoming a barber. Most people have heard it that have watched the channel now at this point, but I left my job and I went and started delivering pizzas for 18 months while I was going to barber school. And I would go to barber school from 9 to 5 every day, go deliver pizzas from 6 o'clock until 11 o'clock. And it was a grind and it was tough. And I hated just about every second of it. But this was such a passion for me and such a strong desire that it got me through it. You know what I mean? And I could see the dream, and it was like, this isn't easy. I want to quit. But I understood how important it was and how life-changing it was going to be for me. And that was what was able to get me through it. You know what I mean? And so that's where it's like the results and finding the passion is really what it fueled me to get through those tough times. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned before that you're fueled by impact.
Right.
Like, right? You want to impact other people. That's what really passionate. When you were going to barber school, was there like a straight line through like, hey, this is going to be a vehicle for me to impact other people? Or is that something that you kind of realized over time sitting in the chair?
It was something I always knew. I mean, like you said, you know, growing up with my, and you're taking over the interview here. This is crazy here, but you know, growing up with pops, you know, or being in the barbershop all the time, I knew the effect that it had on people, and I knew the effect that it had on me. You know what I mean? When I have a good haircut, you were joking with me a minute ago about when I tried to grow my hair out, and I was so happy when I finally cut it because I was like, dude, I just can't do this anymore. But the impact I know on myself, how I feel when I have a haircut, and just being able to deliver that to other people is incredible. You know what I mean? So, but let's talk about you, because you like to have an impact on people. I'm the one running this interview, Justin. You're the one who you love having an impact on the people. You know the difference it can make to a community to be a part of that. And you do a lot of different things. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Grid Knoxville. We talked about it a little bit with Corey. If you guys remember, Corey King was on here. They're partners in this. And but it's growing. Even since the last time when Corey was on here, you guys have now moved to a new location, beautiful location, can seat many more people. You had your first meeting. How'd it go?
Okay, cool. So we'll talk about that, and then let's talk about impact in a bigger way, because I think there's a bigger. So Grid went really well. We run an investor meetup, and the very short version is we moved to a new location. Dalton and Rob, who are producing this podcast, helped us. We leaned on a giant team, and we more than doubled our attendance. So we went from about 40 to 50 in the room to well over 100. We had at least 110 in there, and our online community has doubled in maybe 5 weeks. So massively successful. There's also, I mean, that's 2 years of just concerted effort there. Why that's significant is we built a real community around the topic of investing, where people are collaborating. There's a high level of trust. People get a lot of value out of it. And that's been really exciting to sit, like rubbing off on you, having conversations with Dalton, where he's like, hey, I'm having these conversations with my partner. That's really cool to sit. So, and why is impact important? So I'm going to ask you why impact is important. And so why is impact important to you? Like, what's significant about having an impact on the world?
I'm not sure. Tell me.
Okay, cool. So here's what I think big picture when we talk about impact. There's a couple of different things. So there is a famous psychologist, Maslow. Everyone's seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs if you've taken some sort of like intro class in college, right? And at the very top of that pyramid, at the bottom is stuff, security and shelter. But the top of it is self-actualization, right? That's that like, hey, being the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. What people don't know is on his deathbed, what he actually said was that wasn't as important. What was important was posterity. To him, it was like legacy. Like, what are you leaving for other people? And the impact's really exciting. It's always been exciting. Like having influence on other people is really exciting. I think everything in my life comes down to, at this point, honestly, it's probably getting sober. Like when you do that, what happens, if you do 12-step recovery, there's other ways to do it. But it's, hey, there's a point where you make this bargain and you say, hey, I'm gonna make a change in my life. And as a result of this change in my life, I'm basically making a spiritual bargain with a higher power, whatever that means to you, that this is going to serve as an example to other people that this process can work. Any success that I have, any good things that happen in my life are just an example of like, this is possible for you too. So you're signing up to have impact on other people, even if it's just locally, even if it's just one-to-one. So the affirmation that I go live by is, I give everywhere I go, even if it's just a smile, a compliment, or my full attention. Listening is the best gift I can give to other people, right? And if you just, like, you can live the macro and the micro. right? You can have that. It's hard. I want to talk with my hands underneath this cape and mess up the branding. But you can live the macro and the micro, right? So it's how do you have an impact on other people? And honestly, man, what most people just need is a friend. Right. So I'm asking you those questions, like Jonas, like it's what most people, and I didn't know some of that stuff about you delivering pizzas. People need someone to really listen to them. Everyone in this lonely world we're living in right now is craving more connection and deeper connection. So just by simply following that intuitively, a lot of incredible things have opened up in my life.
You know, you're talking there about, you know, being a friend, and people want a friend. And like you just said it, sometimes you just have to be a listener. I say this a lot. Mm-hmm. No one cares about you, right? Most people don't care about your personal goals or what you're doing or what's going on. They'll ask how you doing, what's going on, you know, on a very base level as they're concerned. Most of the time people only care about themselves, and that's just the way that the world works. So being a listener is so important. And one of the things I love about this job, and I don't even like to call it a job, this career, is the relationships that are built with people and getting to listen to people. I get to be, you know, sometimes just sit back, relax, and listen to people talk about themselves. And that's why I love this. And so I want you to talk about, from your aspect, how important relationship building is, and, you know, maybe some steps on that, because I think that you and I think that Corey, two people, are so good at it. And you guys have plugged me with Dalton, with Rob, put me on with so many people. I've had other real estate people coming in the door now just because of YouTube, because of the impact that you have, and even outside of just the real estate circle. And so I want you to talk a little bit about relationship building and how you guys do and how important it is.
So I think it's really interesting how you frame that, because I think we're very similar in that I'm a very, very passionate, like emotional person who can speak like very stoically, like you just do too. Because you said, hey, no one cares about you, but I know you care about me. Like you exude that. But it is true, right? People are living very busy lives, and until they know that I care about them, they're not as interested necessarily like in my goals or my aspirations, right?
Right.
That's not the world we're living in, and we got to open up a space to have that conversation, right? So one of my superpowers is networking and connecting other people. I'm really passionate about it. And it came from making some mistakes young in life, right? So I started off at the University of Notre Dame, ended up leaving there and made some mistakes, went to another school, really started over my life a couple of times. But because some of the decisions I made, I told myself a story that, hey, I can't be the front for a lot of these things, right? I can be a support role, but I'm no longer going to be out in the front of a lot of the endeavors that I'm going after, right? And so I started collaborating and listening and understanding, okay, like if I'm acting as Jonas, how am I going to do that? Well, over the years, and it's a very long story, lots of entrepreneurial twists and turns, you know, I end up running some teams. And we start going to these real estate conferences. And I'd hear these people ask these questions. And what I realized was Keller Williams has 170,000 agents. It's got the best training and coaching in the country. So you'd meet a lot of coaches, but you don't know they're a coach, right? They're at a conference, they're wearing running shoes and like a t-shirt because they're walking, you know, 2 miles that day. But they'd ask these questions and I'm like, oh, you know what? I could ask those same questions. So I'd meet Dalton and I'd say, hey, what's going on in your business, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how can I help you today? What's the one need that you have? And what happens is people start really opening up and you get in these really interesting conversations. It's not small talk where they talk about it. Now, the difference is it's easy for you to ask this because at this point, I have a unique level of experience where I've been working in the real estate industry. I've sat in more chairs than almost anyone I've ever met. And so I've got this really wide-ranging, comprehensive view of how all the pieces fit together. So when I'd ask that, I'd be like, oh, that's so interesting. So you probably need X, right? Mm-hmm. Or you need to know who. And that's the first step in what I like to call fiduciary friendship, is I've got to really ask questions to figure out like what's important to you and why. And then I got to think about who can I go connect you with? Because that's the fun of this all, like, oh, you want to do, you know, some sort of concept. Well, you need to talk to Dalton. And I just started attracting people. I just assume that everyone I meet wants to help people the same way that I want to help people, because I'm doing this without gain for myself. And what I find is I attract people that are also looking to come from contribution. So I don't even ask for permission, like, hey, Ken, you probably should, right? Because this is just a natural part of my personality. but I just assume like if I meet Jonas and Jonas is cool and I know someone else, like Jonas is going to want to help them as well. And so what ends up happening is then it's a challenge like, all right, well, who does Jonas need to meet? Who do I know in his world? Or who do I know that can make that connection? Or if I don't know, how do I go find that connection? And when you start chasing that, we talked about chasing success and falling in love with the process. Like that is something that I never get tired of doing. It gives me energy and it fulfills my purpose. So to take it full circle, man, I want to have an impact on other people. And the people that I see having a giant impact are massively successful, right? They've gone ahead and built these empires. And just by chasing this coming from contribution, I've been able to have a massive impact before I quote unquote earn the right to be that successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And one thing that I found that was all incredible, the one thing that I thought stood out and I want you to expound upon is you talked about, leaving Notre Dame and kind of finding your path, that you had to realize that you weren't going to be the front man on a lot of things that you wanted to do or things that you wanted to make an impact on. You saw the need for it, but you understood that your role wasn't going to be you were going to have to lead from a different position. How tough was that for you? Because I'm a firm believer in that we can't do everything ourselves, right? And if a lot of times, if we want to reach the level of success that we want to reach, we have to trust other people and use other people's skills to get us there, right? Leverage other people's talents, right? A big reason why Dalton is sitting here right now is because I realize, okay, this is something I want to do, but in order to get where I want to get to, I'm going to need other people's talents and skills to help me get there. It's understanding that I can't do this all on my own as good as if you let other people do their thing and let them, and not micromanage them as well. Let them do things and let them use their creative talents to get me to where I want to get to. So how tough was that for you, knowing, okay, I want to be at the front of this, I want to lead this banner, but I understand that if I want to get it to where it gets to, that's not going to be something I'm going to be able to do?
Actually, it wasn't tough at all. I didn't, so one of my college entrance essays was about the world needs more followers, not leaders. Like what we need is not generals. What we need is talented lieutenants. Like I don't want to be in charge of everything. Right?
Say that again for me.
What we need is not more generals. We need talented lieutenants.
Expound, please.
Right? So I don't want to be in charge of everything. Often when I'm in charge, what happens is I am full of character defects. I'm frail, right? I can get demanding, or when people don't listen to me, my perfectionism comes out, right? I'm at my best when I'm collaborating or I'm a second in command, right? Hey, here's how I think we should execute this, because I was around people that were natural leaders, that people were naturally drawn to and people naturally listen to, And you can change that. The irony now is I lead lots of organizations, and I'm really good at casting a vision, but that really changed when I grew as a servant leader. Like when I was just like pursuing some sort of hey, here's what I think we should do and here's why it's right. We all have that experience and maybe in a school or something where it doesn't matter if you have the most information or you're correct. It's who's the tallest or the most persuasive or the most handsome, and it's a really frustrating experience until you learn how to communicate better. But like, it doesn't matter if I'm right if I don't have the skills to like adapt my communication style. So the other question you asked was about collaboration, right? So that always made sense to me, and I was always a big believer, like I wanted a tribe. I think one of the things that are most overrated in our society is this like singleness. Like I sell homes to people that are so well equipped that they never have to leave the house. And I think that's a loss, right? You're not going to the movies, you're not being out with other people. I don't think it actually makes us happy. I think getting to do whatever I want, spending my time alone in my car, listening to the music I want to, going home to my place, I have it all that I want, ultimately doesn't make me happy, right? I know that I thought it made me happy, but it turns out like when I get my way all the time, I'm not happy. I'm actually much happier when I'm forced to collaborate because I get things I didn't even know that I desired. To answer your question though, to bring it all back, because I go big picture, so let's get tactical. Like, is it difficult to give up? What we're really talking about is control, right?
Yep.
And so let's take it in a bigger picture. Your job as a leader is to cast a vision, right? So this barber shop, it's not just a barber shop. It's a place where people come and their lives are touched. That's why your slogan is iron sharpeneth iron, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a place for people of all walks of life, all genders, but let's just talk, right? Men and sharpening other men, which I think is very important. Having really honest, open, collaborative conversations. We're all vulnerable with each other here, right?
Yep.
And I know, but we're raised, I don't know. I certainly was raised with a certain idea of what it meant to be a man. That's changing and it's adapting. But some of that is that there's just this results-oriented, right?
Yep.
That's what ultimately matters. So how do I still get there? At the end of the day, it's got to get done. Tough, deal with it. But do that in a way that's emotionally intelligent, right? That's collaborative, that maybe has the benefits that I saw growing up without some of the drawbacks. And for us, it's casting a vision of, hey, where are we going? Getting people excited about where we're going, about something that's truly important. And then what's been great for us being a part of KW is that's a company of systems and models. So really just collaborating with other people that are already there and borrowing their systems and models. So everything that I think about doing, I start with who's already doing it and how do I get in a relationship with them? Because most people that are on this path get satisfaction out of helping others. So how do I get and build genuine relationships with those people and connect them to other people where they can have impact? So even when we're chatting, and you know this from talking to Dalton, who's running this media company, or talking to you, I'm constantly thinking about who else do I know that's doing what you're doing and how could you benefit and collaborate for them? Because I'm in an environment with real estate where we're constantly networking because we have this unique aspect of our business where if I just go out of town and build a lot of close personal friendships where people can see my character, they have an opportunity to hear me discuss things that are cogent to our market and important to other people. That's a great advertisement for, hey, this person would be a really good fiduciary. And when someone's moving to their area, I should send them business. So when we network, we naturally get business. In other industries, it's not the same. Like if you go network with a bunch of other content collaborators, there may not be an immediate financial benefit. So there's less incentive to go get together and do this. And I know for me, like it's not about the referrals it's about the relationships, right? My life is better because to that point of iron sharpeneth iron, like I have surrounded myself with really high achievers that I'm in communication with every single day that are constantly pushing me in different ways.
Man, that's so good. And like you said, let's get open about it. Let's have a real conversation here because this is a conversation that you and me have really had recently with relationships. I say I love to build relationships. I love networking, all those things, right? You have those grid Knoxville meetings. You guys have been encouraging me, hey, come out, come see this. To be honest, my personal level, and I've said this to you, I've said this to everyone, is like, I look at it, I'm like, look, I'm not investing in property anytime soon. I'm not in the real estate circle. So what do I have to gain from going there? You know what I mean? That's the shallow. That's where I'm at. We're being real. We're opening up here, being vulnerable. That's where I'm at. I'm like, why would I go over there if it doesn't apply to me? And the stuff that's being talked about, and you tell me, hey man, it's about meeting the people. It's about building the relationship. So let's talk about it. How important is it? Because I'm not the only one. If you're honest, you've been there before. Yeah. Everyone can relate. Where we want to build relationships, but we want to build them with only the people we think can really help us, that we can really benefit from, that can help us close the deal. Why am I going to go to this conference if it's not with potential clients? Like, oh yeah, put me in touch with your friends that want to buy a house, not with your friends that don't care about buying a house, right? But you're saying, no, that's not the only way to look at it. What's the other perspective and what can you gain from it?
Well, here's the other perspective, man, because you got some scripture on the wall, and this is applicable to everyone, regardless of your person of faith or not, right? There's some great lessons to be learned. There's a reason why these faith and wisdom traditions exist, right? So what does he say? He says, what you did for the least of me, you did for me. What do you have to offer? Like, who are you not impacting by not showing up in these rooms? Who just needs someone as incredible as you to be their friend, man, to listen to them, to ask them the questions you ask, right? What could you pour into people? How much could we benefit from someone who's got a beginner's mind asking those questions? So now you got to be intentional. There's some rooms, it's got to be intuitive, But really, when you approach it from like, what do I have to give back? Like, then I've got an obligation to show up. I've got an obligation to go, hey, what am I looking to build? Right? That's why we started Pints for Purpose. So we're going to get to that. That's why we started Grid. But if you're thinking about this, like we want you in this room. You are important. You matter if you're looking to build just real relationships. And why you matter is because we have an opportunity. Like this country is really changing and people complain all day long. I've been all over this country. It's not that different. I go from the Bible Belt to St. Pete. They are radically different places and people are essentially the same. They have way more in common than is different. I built community in both places, and on the surface, they would seem to have very different values or politics or something like that. They're really not that different. So how do we build community? Because the most valuable thing we can build, let's say we were trying to prep for some bad outcome, right? Mm-hmm. Some people might go looking for supplies, or weapons, or something like that. The most resilient thing you could do is build community. Like if I have a tribe and we all have our own skills, to your point, we are going to survive. The isolated man is not going to survive, right?
Right.
It's just, that's not a realistic framework for how human society has ever worked. So how do we build our own communities? So everything that I've done, and this has happened very intuitively and accidentally, has been involved around like building a community or building a tribe or being a part of a tribe.
That's so important, man. I really believe that, because I mean, just in practical senses, you know what I mean? Like, okay, if you need a haircut, right? What? I need a haircut. I can either learn how to cut my own hair, and it's going to take a long time, a lot of mess, a lot of practice, or I can just make a friend, make a connection with somebody that cuts hair, and it's a whole lot easier. My car has issues. Well, one way I can solve it is I can go fix it. I can learn how to be a mechanic, but it's a whole lot easier if I have a buddy I can call up that knows how to do this, that can come help me out, right? And so that's where it is. It's like, you can either try to take this all on your own and really grind it out and go through the struggles, or you can put yourself in rooms with other people that know how to do it, that can make life a whole lot more simpler. You know what I mean? And even if they're not the ones that are coming to fix your car or coming to give your haircuts, I can give you tips on how to get there sooner, right? I can get you tips on how to, this can get you there a whole lot quicker than if you try to do it by yourself.
Competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top. So I can compete with my competitors, or I can create a platform where I highlight them.
Go on, clip that. Say that one more time. Ready? Go ahead, right there.
Competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top.
Bang.
So I can compete with other people, or I can create a platform. I can highlight them, right? Mm-hmm. I don't lose any social credibility by letting you know that the excellent realtors in this room are excellent realtors. They're not our actual competition. The competition is people that are working with people that are going to drop out of the business within 3 years because we have a 90% failure rate, that are working with people that unfortunately don't have the skills or haven't had enough practice to be competent, right? If it comes down to me just competing with my excellent friends, I'm fine with that. There's more than enough for us to all go around. There's opportunities for collaboration. And I work in an industry where at least 90% of the time on a deal, I'm collaborating with someone else anyways. They're bringing a buyer or a seller. So why not lean into that?
I do have a question because you just said this. Do you know what's the average lifespan for a real estate agent? It's not like their actual age, but like how long are they in the
industry? Well, yeah. I don't know average lifespan, but I can tell you a couple stats that are going to surprise you.
Okay.
We have an 87% failure rate in the first 3 years. The average realtor does 12 transactions. The median income, if you've been in for 2 years, is $8,800. The median income, if you've been in for either 14 or 16 years, is around $85,000. And they're paying all these self-employment tax. So most agents are not killing it. And if you just talk to a random agent, chances are you're talking to somebody that won't be in the business in 3 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's why we have one of the least respected professions in the country, because the barrier to entry is so low.
Yeah.
For me to get my license took like 1/15 of the time it took for you to become a barber.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I actually asked that question, because it always used to shock me when I was going through barber school, and our teacher used to tell us like, hey, in 5 years from now, over half of these people will not be cutting hair anymore. And at the time you're like, there's no way, like we're all going through this 1,500 hours, paying all these thousands of dollars to go through this. Like everyone here is so passionate. There's no way, like, yeah, I can maybe think of 3 or 4 that I might not think are going to make it, but to think that half of these people aren't, that's crazy. And now I'm 2 years removed and it's like, holy smokes. Like, yeah, only like 5 of us are still doing this. You know what I mean? Like it's insane.
Did barber school teach you about marketing, about profit and loss statements, about hiring employees?
0%.
Yeah. So the same thing with real estate agents, like the skills that get you in there. Hey, I love people and I'm passionate about houses and design, or I'm an expert in my community, are not the skills of how do I convince strangers to know, like, and trust me with their largest asset? How do I build a lead generation machine? How do I market homes? That the real estate school doesn't teach you any of that stuff.
Man, this has been fun, Justin. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up here. I want you to go ahead and plug a little bit about what you do. We've talked about grid, we've talked about that, but I know you have a couple things that you do on the side. We've talked about community and relationships. I want you to go ahead and plug some of your things that you do and talk about them a little bit here.
Awesome. And so one of the things that I got sidetracked there, so I'll take this back a little bit. A couple years ago, I got involved with KWYP Young Professionals. I heard about it. I thought it was exciting. It's an organization that's designed to develop the next generation of leaders in our industry and in our company specifically. I was like, man, someone should start this here. Someone should start this here. And then I looked up and I was that someone, right? I was trying to find someone younger than me because I was 38 at the time, right?
You're young.
Well, man, not exactly the epitome of a young professional. And so I ended up starting that thing. And we done a lot of things over the years. And we launched that June 1st and we launched Grid. No, we launched Grid June 1st and we launched that June 3rd, 2 years ago. So a lot can happen in 2 years, guys. If you're looking to do something, keep that in mind. We launched that with this vision and it was like, well, what would we have to do to get our unfair share of leadership opportunities? Like, what does it look like to be a leader in this space? What questions should we be asking? What offerings should we be doing? So we started a networking mixer. I was like, well, we should do a networking mixer. We have these new agents. How do we teach them about marketing? Well, we should market on behalf of other people. We should do something for charity because the biggest thing you can do for charity is not just your money, it's like access to your network. And we're all marketing professionals. So we started this thing called Pints for Purpose. And over the last couple of years, it's grown far beyond that with the help of our co-founders at Admiral Title, Tom Burnett, and Mortgage Investors Group originally. We became a 501c3. And now it's totally gone beyond that. It's a 501c3 that's a platform for other nonprofits where we host throwbacks and givebacks. So throwbacks are these fundraisers we do at breweries. We're going to have one Thursday, June 22nd in Albright Grove, but you can see the entire lineup at pintsforpurpose.com. And then we do these givebacks. So I'm actually about to leave right out of here and go talk to the founder of Knoxville Inner City Kids Outreach, Michael Clark, about their mission, right? They run after school and like summer programs for kids that don't have enough positive mentors in their life. So we're going to raise some money for them here in June, get people to know about this organization. And then in July, we're going to go out and volunteer with them again. It's incredibly fun. You need to come. It's basically a field day. So if you want to get humbled by some kids, play some dodgeball, like I was good. And then I got beat in the very last race, like 2 hours deep.
Man.
Some 12-year-old took me on the stairs. We did some obstacle race and he got me. I didn't even bother hitting the stairs. He had me by like 5 feet and I let him go. So that's what Pints for Purpose is, right? And I say all that is community can evolve. Like just start on that idea. We thought this would be something she could do. And now it's become something where anyone can be an advisor for Pints. Like if you said, hey, I want to come be an advisor for Pints, you can come on out. It's totally unbranded. It's open to anyone. And we're trying to create an environment where people that want to go build relationships with other people around some shared values, hey, come out here. If you're clients of us, if you're friends, just come. It's a bunch of great people. You know, I don't even drink. Obviously, I talked about being sober, but I know like more people are going to show up to learn about a charity at a brewery than they're going to show up like at my, a conference room where I'm serving like a fruit tray. That's just marketing, guys. So more people are going to show up for beer and puppies for the Humane Society. Right? Well, puppies, they'll show up anywhere for puppies.
They'll show up anywhere for puppies. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So that's what we did with Pints. So that runs every single month. And in some capacity, there's different events going on. So we've got a couple more coming up, pintsforpurpose.com. We also have Grid. Grid runs every single month. It's an investor meetup. And we're going to take you on the life cycle of an investor. Just starting with how do you even build your team or get the mindset, walking all the way through some of the specific things you'd have to learn about estimating renovations or how do you even hold property, into some sophisticated topics like where to find the money or how does commercial real estate work. So if you're interested at all, if you're an agent, if you're anywhere in that world, like we've created this platform for you, it's totally free. Come on out, join the community, gridknoxville.com, Grid Knoxville on Facebook.
And even if you're not in the community, you can still gain from it, like myself.
100%. If you're at all interested in just building wealth, like come, we're going to connect you with a bunch of great resources. And my favorite advertisement for that is last month we were having a conversation. We were talking about how to estimate renovations. And in that conversation, people were asking some questions and I asked the room, hey, who would go look at a deal with this newer person and tell them if it's a good deal or not? And more than half the room raised their hand. That's the place you want to be. Don't do this on your own. Like figure out how to collaborate, figure out how to network, figure out how to find some mentors. To do that though, you need to get into an environment where there's already trust established.
Yeah.
Well, I know Jonas and I trust Jonas, but Jonas trusts Dalton and trusts Justin. And then I can see all these other people in the room that already know these guys and seem to think they're good guys. Like, right?
Think they're good guys.
Well, might know they're good guys. Jonas is a skeptic, which is good. You got to have skeptics in there because they look for the holes in things.
Exactly.
Yes.
Justin, let's check this haircut out, well, man. See if it looks good for you or not. What do you think right there, man? Looking good?
Looking dapper.
That'll work for you?
Did your magic.
Short enough on top?
Looks
good.
Yeah.
Get you some more compliments.
Yes, I love it.
Justin, I appreciate you coming in, man, taking time out of your busy schedule. Real quick, would you go ahead and let the people know where they can find you if they have any further questions or they ever want to, meet up and come to one of your events? Where can they follow you guys on social media?
Sure.
Go ahead and plug yourself real quick.
So you can find me at Barbers United. Check out Cutting Up with Jonas. No, you can find me just invested in you on Instagram, but really just Justin Myers and Grid Knoxville is going to find everything. You'll find my real estate team, all that other stuff. But if you go there, that's going to get you connected to Pints for Purpose and our investor community. If there's any way that I can help you, if there's someone that you need to know, even if it's not real estate related, I have a network of successful, compassionate, collaborative people all over the country, some of the biggest names in our industry. And what I found is all those people are in that position. They're looking to give back to other people. That's why they built these giant organizations. So if you're anywhere in the country and you need some help, reach out to me. More than likely, I know who you need to know.
Guys, check him out. And if you're in the Knoxville area, go check out one of their grid meetings, and I promise you won't regret it. So appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. So.